Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Mel. I grew up playing outside.
And I grew up doing something meaningful, watching movies and TV.
I never had cable, and we finally bought a VCR about the same time DVD players hit the market.
Throughout our marriage, Mel has sadly missed many of my pop culture references and movie quotes.
So it's time to catch up on all the films I missed.
Yeah, so you know what I'm doing right now. You've heard me playing this all week. What am I learning on the piano?
Oh my gosh, you're playing the music to Halloween.
Yes.
Yes.
But I don't play piano.
No.
You play piano lovely.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
But you've been sitting down and figuring that out, and you've got it. You've
Kinda.
got the right hand.
I got the right
the
hand
melody.
And then the left hand, but playing them both at the same time is making my brain break. Here, I'm gonna put in a sample of the audio, what it sounds like. Yeah. That should be about right. So it's clunky and our piano's out of tune, but yeah, that's me really vibing in the Halloween spirit this year.
It's great because our kids don't know what it is, so it doesn't freak them out.
They don't. That's true. And then we had a birthday party and the people came over and I was playing that in the background.
As you do at a party.
As you would of course do at a party.
That's normal.
Makes absolute sense. Yeah, I think it was kind of a hit. People had a vague sense of what it was or just didn't know at all. So it didn't really, it was like a nice little heartbeat that was going on throughout the party.
Yes.
Blipping every once in a while, then finally fading.
Is this a clue about what we're watching tonight?
I don't know. Do I do that?
Oh, no. It is, isn't it?
Maybe. Do you have any idea what we're watching?
Well, I have an idea now.
What do you think we're watching?
Halloween.
Nope.
Halloween 2.
No, and no to all the rest of the sequels.
Okay.
You seriously think? I'm kind of offended right now. You seriously think I'm going to show you Friday the 13th and then follow up right after it with Halloween?
That wouldn't make sense, knowing now that I know that Halloween comes first.
Yes.
Came first.
Yes.
That wouldn't make sense for you to do it. And it would be like sandwiching like back to back such similar movies. You wouldn't do it. But you've been playing
Correct.
the music. So
Correct.
Also, that's kind of too obvious a clue.
Yes. There was a clue in the things I was saying, though. So you don't have an idea of what we're watching.
Oh, boy. No.
Okay. We're watching a film called Flatliners.
Oh.
Do you have any idea what it's about?
No.
None? No vague recollection? No movie posters in your mind? No actors?
I've heard
no nothing?
of it.
You've heard about it?
Yeah.
You definitely, when you see the actors in this movie, you are gonna know pretty much all of them.
Okay. Okay. Cool. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about the movie except there are actors in it.
They're actors in the movie. Okay. All right. What do you think it's about?
Is this the one that you were like, oh, wait till you see Flatliners? Like it's...
I say that about a lot of movies.
You do.
So
yeah.
You need to be more specific.
Like gross?
Gross. Oh, no. It's not like a Cronin. Well, you caught me monologuing. You're trying to trick me into telling you the plot, and I am not falling for it.
Oh,
I was so close that time.
Well, now I'm nervous, though, because you're like, it's not gross, but then you hesitated. So there's some grossness.
Do you remember the director who's famous for grossness in his movies?
Oh, Cronenberg.
Oh, I love you so much.
Well, you just said the names. So
did I? Oh, sorry. I thought in my mental like recollection, looking at the recording tape, the ticker tape from the in court when there's the stenographer.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like, I stopped it before I said those things, but
you started saying it. I would tell you that he did The Fly, and I'd get to his name eventually. Yeah. But
whenever I think of The Fly, I always think of when Jeff Goldblum like he used his like fly mucus that every single time someone says The Fly, that literal picture flashes through my mind.
I think of his enthusiasm for food.
Oh yeah, that's such a great movie. Okay, so back to Flatliners. You have the title. You know there are actors in it. You have no other idea about what's it. Nothing, right?
I'm hearing in my mind that beeping sound when someone flatlines.
Yeah.
Beep.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
That's my only inkling. I have no idea what it's about.
All right. So
I think I wanted to see it at some point. I don't know.
Okay. I want you to do the movie poster with the tagline. You've got enough information to just make a wild stab in the dark. So do it, please.
I think there's going to be like some kind of tagline about what comes after.
What comes after what?
Flatlining.
Okay. Okay.
When I say things like that, you get this like look in your eye like, oh, she's so off base.
No,
oh, what an innocent idea. I don't know.
No. That look is me always being very cognizant of thinking like, I want to make sure, I want you to clarify what you're saying. I'm not going to infer anything of what you're saying. You said what comes after. So that could be open-ended, like after lunch?
I feel like flatlining is dying.
Dying, okay.
After dinner. I feel like flatlining is like a gateway to something.
Okay. All right. So your movie poster looks like what? Paint me a mental picture here.
It's like it's just blue.
It's blue. Okay.
Like a dark blue of like Twilight.
Okay.
And there's like the line that happens on the screen. And I don't know. There's something about
something comes after?
No, like
what?
They thought there was nothing after.
Oh, ooh.
Something like that.
What a twist.
Mm.
All right.
This is exciting.
I'm not going to brag, but this is at least, I think this is 3 movies in a row, and I had a bad streak there for a while.
Yeah.
But for the Halloween season, yeah, I've been knocking it out of the park. Like, well, The Burbs you'd seen, but Arachnophobia you hadn't seen, Friday the 13th, and now Flatliners.
Yes, so let's go watch it.
Let's go check it out.
Woohoo!
Today's a good day to die.
Flatline.
30 seconds to go.
Can you recall any specific emotion or sensation?
No, but there's something out there.
We're running out of time.
300, clear! Nothing. Your heart, go again, clear! Nothing, I can't hear anything. Come on, Nelson. Breathe. We lost him! No!
Welcome back, man.
I'm going next.
2 minutes.
2:10.
Was there anything negative about your experience?
This is too weird. We've experienced death. Now somehow we brought our sins back physically.
They're past.
That is not hallucination, and it is not possible.
Oh my God.
You withheld information. That's the same as lying.
You wouldn't have done it.
At least we would have had a choice!
You're not real.
Hey, come on, they're your sins. Live with them. I do.
No! Nelson, please!
I thought I paid my dues.
Thank you for the nightmare.
No! Come on, Joe! Starting CPR. 1,000, 2,000.
Flatliners. Some lines shouldn't be crossed.
You know, my first instinct when thinking about the first thing to say after watching that movie was to just make, the boo noise. But that's how we end our podcast. So I didn't want people to think immediately. And if you've never listened to the end of the podcast, that's what it sounds like. You hear that tone. I didn't want people to think it was over and just stop listening. So I resisted the urge.
This is actually the beginning.
This is actually not the beginning, but it's the beginning of the second half. Yes. Is it the beginning of the second half? Because that ties directly into the movie and what they're exploring.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of this one?
I'm blown away.
Yeah?
I'm totally blown away. That was a movie.
It was a movie.
That was
true.
A movie with heft and craft and beauty and redemption and amazing acting. And oh my gosh, that was a real treat to watch.
This is you gushing, by the way. I don't know. This is gushing, active gushing going on here.
Wow. When did that come out?
1990.
1990.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was.
It's like the 80s had learned all they need to know and then made this movie.
Yeah. Yes. Any trace of 80s left in it is not doesn't date it.
I mean,
there is a trace of the 80s.
There's a definite There's definite aftertaste, I would call it. Aftertaste of the 80s.
I think my word's nicer.
It is. Your word's way nicer. But like Kiefer, the trench coat he wore.
I was going to say the trench coat.
Very 80s.
Yeah.
Just in general, the hairstyles. You could see the 90s starting to crest a bit.
Definitely.
But it was still a little hangover. And there's a reason why this movie, well, before we get too far, you want to give us a quick summary?
Oh, sure. What a delight. Yes, so this movie centers around some med school students who want to do an experiment where they bring themselves through a procedure. They bring themselves to death, like they stop their hearts, they're brain dead, so that they can experience if there's anything that happens after death, and they're looking for some kind of experience, and then they bring each other back from death to life, and then they also like bring something back with them. Like there's like a
dun dun dun.
It doesn't happen without consequence.
Is it a plot? Do they bring the plot back with
They
them?
they just carry it around in their trench coat pockets. They've got the plot, and yeah. So then they're kind of pushing the envelope and staying under longer, staying dead longer, and things are kind of starting to crumble. And there's this great way that they get saved in the end. So that's like the quick summary of the movie.
That's a good summary.
Thank you.
It definitely was very, oh my goodness, this is a completely different flavor than the movie we just watched, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, if I were to compare the two, like this kind of scary thriller sort of movie is way more up my alley.
Yeah.
Like it's my kind of movie. Obviously, you can tell I'm like super excited about it.
Yeah.
Like the element of sci-fi-ness. It wasn't too scary, but it was like dramatic, and yeah, I definitely prefer this kind of movie.
Yeah.
To be scared by.
The reason I initially chose this film was because of the bacon connective tissue.
Nice. That's good.
He pairs well with many different kinds of meals. The bacon factor, yeah.
Kevin Bacon was really great in this movie.
Do you remember, like, I want to say, was it the 90s or the early aughts, where 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon was a game that people played very frequently?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
When you say early aughts, do you mean like
The
in
2000s.
the 2000s?
Yeah.
I think it's the 2000s.
It was in the 2000s.
That's when I remember playing it.
I remember it happening in the aughts, but,
Agree
word
to disagree.
nerd. Yeah, that was like a thing. Actively, people would do that, like just as a fun, like party game type deal.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Wow, I can't believe I just said that. 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
There you go.
Good times.
So he was great in this movie. Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh, hang on. Now I'm actually playing 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Okay, I can get to Kevin Bacon within 6 degrees. Are you ready?
Okay, from yourself?
From myself.
Okay.
I was an extra in the movie Escanaba into Moonlight, which was written by Jeff Daniels.
Yes.
Jeff Daniels, oh man, what was he? He's in so many different movies. He was in, you have your finger up.
I'm counting the degrees.
Okay, that's 1 degree. Jeff Daniels was in a movie with, was he in a movie with Val Kilmer? No, he was in a movie with Jim Carrey, who was in a movie with Val Kilmer, Batman Forever.
Yep.
And then Val Kilmer was in a movie with Elizabeth, what was her name? Shue. Yeah, Elizabeth Shue. She was in Adventures in Babysitting, Elizabeth Shue. Did I have that name right?
Val Kilmer was in Adventures in Babysitting?
No, he was in a movie with her called The Saint. Okay?
Oh, always wanted to see it. Good soundtrack.
And then, oh man, why did I connect her to Kevin Bacon? The train has run off the tracks. Hollow Man. Got it. Sorry. She stars in Hollow Man, which stars Kevin Bacon. Is that 5?
That's 5 degrees.
5 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
You're so close.
I'm so close.
Oh, do you feel a connection?
I think I can get there faster, but honestly, I do. But this was just off the cuff. I was not planning on talking about this. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, so Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Your bud.
Mm-hmm. My 5th degree, yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So he was awesome in this movie.
He was great, yeah.
And Julia Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
She was very Julia Roberts in this movie. In a good way.
So I don't really know her as like a serious actress. When I think of Julia Roberts, the first movies that pop into my mind are Pretty Women, Pretty Woman.
I was like, is that the sequel to Pretty Woman? Pretty Women?
That one. As I said, I was thinking, well, she is pretty serious in that movie. But
Pretty serious woman.
but My Best Friend's Wedding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those are the two big ones for me that I think
Yeah.
of her in.
Okay.
But she was really, in this movie, she was like subdued, serious. Like it was really cool seeing her act differently. For me, it was very different. It was a big departure from what I know her as.
I'm going to remind you, you've seen her in Homeland too, which
I loved her in Homeland.
Yeah. So maybe that subconsciously was driving your appreciation in this movie too.
I forgot about that. Okay, now I have to go back and watch Homeland again.
I know. No, she did really good as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had Kiefer.
Yep. And then a Baldwin. William Baldwin?
Yeah, I think he goes by Billy. But
oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, Billy Baldwin. Alliteration.
Way more approachable.
Yeah, totally.
And Oliver Platt.
Yes, Oliver Platt.
What else is he in? I recognize his face, but then I'm like, I don't know what he's in.
He's in so many things. He's one of those guys he's like how he is in this movie. You like add him for like ensemble, like kind of like popping. I can't think of a movie right now. I'm picturing him with a goatee though. I don't remember what that means.
Okay.
But I've seen him in many, many movies. I could bring up IMDb and check if you want me to see, but they all did really good though. Like I think it was fair. It was good. Yeah.
They all had amazing hair as well.
That's true.
Their hair was really great. I know you weren't as impressed by it as I was, but they were all doing their best hairstyles.
No offense to Kevin Bacon, but I thought his hair was probably the most dated, I would say. It was the most dated of the crew. And you were like, no, it just looked like a mullet to me. But you're like, excuse me. And you got out like the ruler and you're like, the anatomy of a mullet is yada, yada, yada. I'm like, oh, well, okay. Kind of looked like a mullet to me.
Oh, no, definitely not a mullet.
I just kept thinking about how this movie felt like the spiritual sequel to The Lost Boys.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
How so?
Like, or actually, it could have been, actually in my head, I imagined it was like a prequel to The Lost Boys. Like, because Kiefer Sutherland, he's in The Lost Boys, and Joel Schumacher directed both of them. Right. And just the way his character was, he's the ringleader, he's kind of outspoken, he's kind of like got issues and, chip on his shoulder, which is just kind of what Kiefer's good at acting, right? Mm-hmm. Among other things, Kiefer, no shade. Unless you're a vampire, then plenty of shade. So yeah, anyway, like I was imagining in my mind, this is how The Lost Boys happened. He got into, this character in med school got into like playing with the afterlife and, they kill themselves and they come back. And then like after this movie's done, he learned a lesson, whatever. Then he's like, what's the next thing I can try to figure out? And he hears rumors about vampires in California or something. And so he goes to California and he finds them and then he gets turned into a vampire. Boom, The Lost Boys is there.
That's it. That's definitely seems like a connection there.
I'm thinking it's like, the Pixar movies, how they like look at them after the fact and they try to tie them all together and everything. Kind of feels like that. I wonder if I should do that with Joel Schumacher's films, see if I can get them all to interconnect.
Definitely do that.
That's also where the nipples on the batsuit came from. Because nipples prominently are shown in this movie a lot of the men when they're doing, putting the heart paddles on and stuff. There's literally shots where like, if you saw that on a screen, that would be like, I don't know, an 8-foot nipple. Like there were definitely a lot of shots like that. And then coincidentally, Joel Schumacher goes and does a Batman movie. First time Batman has nipples ever. So I don't think it's a coincidence, Melissa.
Was it the first and last time?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
I don't think stuck around.
I think they kept the nipples around for George Clooney as well. Like when he did the one after that.
Okay. And
watch, I'm totally getting my bat facts incorrect and I'm going to be, called out on it. I'm pretty sure it's the Batman Forever suit that brought the nipples though. Like I'm 96% sure.
Well, I do know that Val Kilmer was considered for the role.
Yes.
Of Kiefer Sutherland in, I was going to say Lost Boys, but no, in Flatliners.
Maybe he was for that one too.
But he turned it down. And I feel like I keep hearing that about Val Kilmer. Like he was constantly being offered roles in the 80s and 90s and turning them down. Like what was that all about? He
just, he had a very specific vision of what he wanted to do and not do.
Yeah, that was part of the story in Top Gun, where they were like, they wanted him and he had to like chase him out of the building and like convince him to be involved in it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe his strategy was just plain hard to get. Like, that works a lot of times in life. Just play hard to get.
Worked for you.
It definitely worked for me. It worked for you as well, for the record. Now,
I feel like we need to talk about another character in this movie that we haven't brought up yet.
okay, let's do it.
It's the location.
Oh,
The
yeah.
actual place it was shot. It was filmed at Loyola
Mhm.
University
In Chicago.
in
yeah.
Chicago.
Mhm. Yep.
And they zoom in. It starts, and there's all of these like establishing shots of statues and artwork, and it's all very dark and ominous and creepy. And
Yep.
it gives the whole movie this amazing tone.
Yeah. 100%. Like, it also reminded me of The Lost Boys. There were
Mhm.
lots of large, wide shots in that one too. And I really liked on any of the scenes, first of all, there are movies, you watch and you have to have a suspension of belief, right? You have to
Mhm.
suspend belief when you're watching it. And the fact that they were like in this crazy looking building that had this beautiful artwork and statues and mosaics, and then they just somehow got gurneys and medicine that has shelf lives and has to be controlled, temperature controlled, and all the electrical equipment like into that space was probably the funniest one for me, which is hilarious because it's about literally being in the afterlife, kind of. But anyway, that my nerd brain was like, that one, just fixated on that one.
I know it's a big hurdle for you to come over
But-
when you're watching.
But the point is, though, it was effective. Like, most people would not notice that, care about it, whatever. But it made it feel like, it almost felt like Dante's Inferno. Like, visually, when you're watching the film, you have, like you said, this like large idea of what something is. And as you peel down the layers and you go through the grime of the city too at times,
Mhm.
and then you'll go back to this like entering into that space is like them going through a catacombs of like layers and of like of anything, like ideas, like what is man. There's one, like there's this big head that features very
Yeah.
prominently in the shots, and it's almost like you're going into man's psyche
Yeah.
to like adventure in there and stuff.
It was
was
super
neat.
effective. And
Yeah,
they had to
totally.
like push aside like plastic sheeting to get in a lot of times and
Yep.
sneak around and go through the doors
Yeah.
and the tunnels and yeah.
Yeah.
There's also, it was just like so artfully done. I think I liked the artful side of this a lot. There was also like these really cool faces painted on the like in the alleys,
Right.
like these kind of evil looking faces,
Yeah.
and
the
they would
spray
be
painted
dim.
ones, yeah. Mhm.
And then it was like graffiti. But then when things would happen, like they would kind of like be lit up more with different
Yeah.
lighting, and that was so cool.
It was really neat how Schumacher was like, he was blending the line of like what's in the person's head versus reality.
Mhm.
So like you as the viewer would watch it and be like, is that real or is that not real? Like, is there really something going on here or not? It like put you in that position too, where you were questioning reality like they were.
And then all of a sudden, the boy with the hockey stick hits Kiefer
Oh.
Sutherland. You're like, oh, that's real.
Yeah, that's
That
definitely
is
real.
not imagination.
I couldn't help myself. Confirmed. Nipples on the Batsuit, Batman Forever. I just really couldn't. I
I
couldn't.
totally thought you were looking up Oliver Platt, but
No,
that was more
I
important.
couldn't let that go. And anyway. So.
Glad we got that covered. Thank
glad
you.
we got it covered too.
I mean, it's not covered, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
We'll get to the Oliver Platt thing too eventually. Don't worry. Were there any other aspects of the movie you wanted to bring up, like, or any other thoughts you had?
I'm always like interested in the EKG machine,
Yeah.
and you have to like rub it together. And
Oh, the paddles.
The
'Cause those are two
paddles.
different things. Yeah.
oh, you're right. Okay, the
Yeah.
paddles. Is that the name for it? Paddles.
The technical, I don't remember the technical term.
So those things that you rub together and you
yeah.
have to say clear and then you put it on. And they were doing it a certain way. And I found out that they actually were trained on how to use them.
Oh yeah.
So
Mhm.
the actors were all trained in CPR and how to use the paddles. And so like the way they were doing it is the real way to do it.
Yeah, to use a defibrillator. That's the word I forgot.
I've always just wanted to do that. It just looks so cool when you rub the paddles together.
I mean,
Why?
we could just go to like an old, resale place, that medical resale place. There's probably broken ones, and then we could just have them for you to like play with.
Okay, that sounds
Does there
good.
need to be electricity involved, or you just want the
No.
tactile sensation?
I just want to know what that feels like. It's so iconic. You just
Okay.
see it all the time.
Yeah, and then you have to yell clear, of course.
Of course,
that's
yeah.
just requisite. You've got to do that.
So because we know that all the actors are trained in CPR,
Mhm.
if you were, heaven forbid,
Oh no.
in trouble,
In cardiac
and you
arrest?
needed mouth to mouth,
Oh, mouth to mouth. Okay.
which one of the cast members would you want to receive mouth to mouth from?
I think the simple answer is Julia Roberts. But is this cast members or characters in the movie?
Characters in the movie.
Characters in the movie?
The main doctors who were doing the experiment.
No question, Kevin Bacon.
Why Kevin Bacon?
Well, I mean, if you're going for assuming I want to live, he like literally saves everybody every time.
That's true.
Like he's the one, everybody else is like failing. And then he's like, I got it. And then he like, that's like how the movie starts. He starts by saving someone's life. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Kevin Bacon. How about you?
Julia Roberts. She has the best bedside manner. She's so nice.
I thought you were going to say because of her pillow lips. She very famously has like pillowy lips. And it'd just be a comfortable experience.
I mean, I think she'd just be, her bedside manner seems very nice.
Yeah. Totally. Agree. Were there any, man, if you went into the afterlife, like what happens in this movie, what would follow you back, Melissa?
Ooh, that's deep.
This movie's deep.
It is. Cause like not everything. So it was like it was a boy that followed Kiefer back that he had actually accidentally killed.
Yeah. Oops.
And it was Julia Roberts' father that he wanted to apologize to her.
Yeah.
So that was like a twist. And then of course there's Billy Baldwin and his terrible treatment of women.
Yes.
And he's redeemed. I think his redemption is like just because his fiance dumps him.
Yeah.
Isn't that when it kind of like leaves off?
That was something I wanted to actually talk about. So keep going with your thread. We'll come back to that.
And then who's the last one? Oh, Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
And it was a girl that he teased on the playground.
Yeah.
And he goes back. He's the one who figures it out. He goes back.
Mm-hmm.
He apologizes. And then you have like this glimmer of hope. Like I thought for sure, I'm going to get to your question in a second.
That's fine.
But I thought for sure that someone was going to die. Like I think I said out loud.
I mean, many people died in this movie.
But I mean,
they just came back.
I didn't think they were always going to come back.
Got it.
I was at one point in the movie, I think I said, someone's not going to make it. And I really believed that. The movie did a good job. But golly,
it was
something from my... Yeah, go ahead.
It was so dark, you kind of assumed that. It just had and Chicago is just a dark and gritty place in general.
Beautiful.
For some. and it has its moments. And then, it felt like that kind of world where one of the characters would die and it would make complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Although, plot-wise, if someone had died, then the movie would have stopped. So they couldn't really do that plot-wise, unless it was at the very end. But back to my question, yes.
I'm having a hard time with this question because I want to have something lighthearted.
You can have a ridiculous one, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
You don't need to bare your soul for the entire world to see.
I'm just thinking about the time that I got really mad at my brother and I took his Chuck E. Cheese quarter holder. It's like a plastic tube that you can put quarters in.
Wow.
And I threw it down the hallway and I cracked it. And he was so upset. He was devastated. So I feel like...
So a tiny version of your brother would be chasing you and like assaulting you? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
throwing plastic Chuck E. Cheese memorabilia at me.
Wow.
And I'd have to go to Chuck E. Cheese and get him a new one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Do you want to share anything from your past that would come back?
Mine would definitely be... There was this one time I went to a library, and I'm a very friendly person when I interact with people, hopefully. And you're laughing because you remember this story.
Oh my God.
There's this woman, and she's a librarian, and she had a necklace on, and it was a cob of corn.
Yeah.
It was a cob of corn.
Yeah.
And so I said to her, "Oh, you're feeling a bit husky today, are you?" And not even thinking about husky could mean overweight, right. I was literally just thinking of a corn pun.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if you elbowed me or you poked me or whatever.
I wanted to sink into the floor.
Yes. Yes. And I don't honestly even remember her response. She probably just moved on in the conversation. Yeah. So yeah, I'd have to find her.
Yes.
And explain to her the rationale of the joke. And that's and then
you would explain.
I'd explain
do you understand how to apologize?
Yes. No, that's the whole second half of the act. Like the first half is I find her and all that, and then I discover what, that's not the right way to apologize to someone. And then the journey of me learning how to do that. It's like 4 or 5 more movies worth of stuff of learning.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of effort to apologize to people.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hard.
Okay.
I'm not going to apologize, Melissa.
Okay.
For that joke.
I love that that's what you thought of.
Yeah.
Your mind went back to that librarian.
That's the one.
Well, wherever she is, I do hope that one day you go back and apologize.
I bet she still tells that story.
Maybe.
That's my guess. Yeah. Wow. Do you think this one holds up pretty good? What do you...
I do. Yeah. I think it holds up well because the plot is timeless. Like people like seeking to figure out what happens after they die. So I feel like that drive and the characters' drive and everyone's individual motivation is totally tracks.
Oh, I agree. The one thing we need to circle back on is like, how did everyone actually resolve their issues? Like, would it have really resolved it effectively? Like, you're kind of left with, Kevin Bacon apologizes. That one seems pretty open and close. Julia Roberts, like, makes amends with her dad. And then the Billy one, like, he just gets in trouble. I don't feel like he learned anything because his was the most problematic because he had wronged many, many women, right? Yeah. So if he had to follow the same formula that everybody else did of like finding the specific person, it would have been an installment of movies of him going to try and apologize to all these women. I
don't know. That is a hard one. I feel like his like redemption is not as squeaky clean as the other ones because
no.
He had to be, I was going to say like maybe he was scared enough. But I don't see that it resulted in a change. But you don't get to see that. So
I don't. His is the weirdest one. It felt like we got to figure something out kind of a deal. So
because he's still like when his fiance came to talk to him, he still acted the same way. Like he was trying to apologize and make it work, and then she left him. Maybe it was that she stood up to him.
Yeah, maybe. But that whole conversation. That whole interaction really was, some of the lines too were like, what's going on here? And then it was over. So I felt like they tried to get past that one pretty fast.
Right. Yeah.
That's probably because they were leveraging the Baldwin for the Baldwin sizzle, He just sits there and smolders in the corner and looks like Zoolander look,
I know. He had good hair too.
He did. He also, he's also in Backdraft.
Oh, yes.
He's in Backdraft.
Yes, I have seen that.
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's Oliver Platt, which he never dies.
He never goes under.
But I feel like he has something to learn too. Just, I don't know if they figure his hubris. He had the most hubris, I think. He had a lot. Well, once I figure out what are the movies, and maybe I'll figure out what the resolution for that character was someday. Anything you would have changed about this one?
I would touch no one's hair. It's perfect.
I would have put an end table in Kiefer Sutherland's apartment. Something, anything. He had like a desk.
I really couldn't tell if it was his apartment.
I think it was his apartment.
Or was it like a place on campus that he just like hung out?
I mean, it was so nice. Like the inside was just huge and expansive.
Yeah.
So it gave me the vibe that he was like the rich dude, And, and he had tons of money and didn't have to worry about stuff like that. But then it's like, there's nothing in it. So, yeah.
I mean, I guess if I could change something, I would try to work on the Billy resolution.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the most like unsatisfying part of the movie, I would think.
Good point.
Yeah.
I also would have given Oliver more to do. He was just kind of like, you know what his character was? He was the, in like old time cartoons, there's like the hen who's really nervous and the hen is pacing around and clucking. That's kind of what he was in the movie. He was just kind of the nervous hen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could set this premise in another field, what do you think would work? Or what would be wacky and weird to watch?
Explain your question a little more.
I mean, the basic premise is like, you die and then you come back to life and you explore, right? But what if they weren't doctors? Like what other profession would be kind of crazy or funny to do this with? The first thing I thought of was beauticians. I would just picture them like doing their nails and getting their hair all prepped, and then they just, I don't know, asphyxiate each other, then give each other CPR or something.
Okay, well, the first thing my mind went to is The Office.
Oh, like paper salesman? Like that?
No, yeah.
They're paper salesmen, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot that. They did something.
They had a job. Dunder Mifflin, yeah.
Yeah, and I just pictured like Dwight trying to bring someone back by like hitting him with a stapler.
That would be nice too.
Yeah, that would be fun.
All right, my favorite question. This is going to be a hard one.
Oh, wow.
What, if any, messages do you think were in this film?
It's interesting because this film was trying to explore like what happens after death.
Yeah.
But really it was the whole thing was that people had to fix what was in their heart or their mind.
Yeah.
In their life.
Mm-hmm.
So it really didn't answer anything that it set out to answer about death.
Didn't it?
It kind of said that there is something afterwards. Yeah. Kevin Bacon was the atheist, and he came to believe he had an experience, and he came to believe in forgiveness, and like, there was like, I think he had just good feelings about like, yeah.
I think he believed in forgiveness before. I think he just genuinely didn't think about reflectively, was there any wrongs that he'd done in his life? Like he reached a point in his adulthood where he was like, he was doing good things. He was a good guy trying to help people. Mm-hmm. And he just completely forgotten about the cruelty that can just exist in humans as they age and grow at any phase, Anyway.
So you asked me with the message and I didn't really answer your question. But
yeah, I noticed that.
Do you have a message? Or that you got from the movie?
Yeah. I mean, I think the movie was definitely... Yeah, everything matters. I think that's the message of this movie. Everything matters.
Aww.
Seriously. all the life, the way life flows and functions, all the little pieces come up to the whole. And, the stuff you do downstream hits you later upstream. Everything matters in life. And even your death matters. It impacts people around you.
Because of the kid, like in Kiefer Sutherland's past. Is that what you mean?
Oh no, I mean like I'm just carrying my analogy on like even like everything in life matters, and then even your death matters, even though that's the end of your life. Or is it the end of your life? Dun dun dun.
Well, I know what this movie would say. I don't think I agree. I know I don't agree with what this movie has put forth, but
no,
yeah. I think another message would be kind of cautionary, like if you're gonna try to deal with stuff like this, you better watch out because there's
do your research. That was my Friday the 13th one last time.
right
Do your research. Wow. Okay, I
enjoyed it. This was a really cool movie.
I'm trying to zazz you this Halloween season, so
consider me zazzed.
You are zazzed. All right, so you've always wanted to do it. Get the paddles. Are you ready?
Ready. And clear.